Hello. All right, this is a video about getting a job. I got a job. Yesterday was my first day by myself. I went through about a month and a half of jumping through hoops, background check, different types of training to get this job, and now I finally have it. So I feel like I can talk about it. If I keep this job, it should be my ticket out of homelessness and into self responsibility once again. So that's an exciting thing, and it's nice to contemplate and anticipate having my own place and paying my own way again. Um, Yesterday was a hell of a day, a lot of intensity. Um, I want to share some of those things. First, I want to say that the do what you want experiment is basically a failure at this point. Um, as far as I'm concerned, um, taking this step to do a job which I don't necessarily want to do in my heart, um, it means that the experiment is a failure. So the experiment is to do what you want all the time. And like many other things in my life, I have discovered that it's very difficult for me to do what I want. Um, I think doing what you want means that you don't listen to the whims or the feelings of other people, or in other words, you don't do what they might want you to do. You do what comes naturally out of yourself. And anyway, that's just a simple report about that. I don't want to go into that too much. Um, but yeah, this job is what I have done for years. I have been a paratransit driver in Fargo, North Dakota for many years, and now I am a paratransit driver in Chicago, Illinois. And that is not something that I particularly want to do, but after this year of homelessness, I have to admit that I'm too afraid to go for anything else. I have not taken the opportunity to make many applications at other places. This is the safe choice for me, and I'd say the one good thing about it is that it is hopefully a stepping stone to something better. And I suppose a second thing that's good about it is that it is a way for me to be responsible for my own finances instead of relying on people like you who probably pay your taxes, um, uh, relying on the public dime, basically. So those are two good things. Um, Yesterday was very intense. Um, I was in I feel that at this point in my life, God is showing me that I'm trying to choose my words. Sorry for the pause. Um, at this point in my life, God is showing me that what I say and what I actually feel can often be quite different. Um, so I often talk about how I hate violence. And when I was young, my father spanked me a few more times than my mother, who also spanked me. Um, My father also smacked me on one occasion very hard across the face, and I'll always remember that and how I felt after that. And it's it was instances like that which have allowed me to see the truth of how terrible violence is, especially violence against children. Um, and I know that violence comes out of rage and anger. So because I don't want to treat my children, if I were to one day have children, in the same way, I feel that it's very important that I deal with my rage, the rage I have inside. at this point in my life as soon as possible. Um, but yesterday I was driving two passengers, and one passenger started watching this video. And in the video, I could clearly hear two voices. One was of a child, one was of a mother, and it was supposed to be kind of a comedy video. What transpired in the video was basically one child was crying, and the mother was saying, "I don't have any time for your drama. Don't you dare cry, and don't you dare feel, don't you dare, don't let one tear come out of your eye." She said something to that effect. Yeah, basically that. And it was striking to me because Jesus has talked a lot about how, as children in this world, we are often stopped from feeling our emotions. And that was just a clear as day example that I could see there. Um, and then another video came on, and this woman was behind me was telling the other woman in the vehicle how this is another good video to watch. It's another funny video, and she was saying it's about how a child doesn't have time for a whooping. Now, a whooping is, of course, a beating, and that is, a form of corporal punishment that exists in the world today, from parents to children. And so this video, which I could also hear, was like basically the child saying in a funny way, I don't have time for a whooping right now. I don't have time to get whooped by you, father or mother or whoever. I think it was a father or an uncle or something like that, or an old, yeah, I think uncle or something. Anyway, while it can kind of, because children are often very funny, there is some humor to that, but really behind it is something really awful, which is that we have no problem assaulting and harming little people, children who have no defense. It's another issue that Jesus has talked about that really hit home for me. And looking at my life and the times that I've been beaten as a child really brought it home, you know. So those are two very intense moments. It's funny how if you just, I feel like if you engage life, there's so much to learn. And I'm grateful for this life in that respect. Two other quick things I want to mention is that, I don't have much time, so I'll limit it to one. I was on the train yesterday, and when I say the train, I mean the subway. That's what we call the subway system in Chicago. And to my right, there was a young man smoking a cigarette. To my left, there was a man with a child in his lap, super cute, maybe 2 years old, sleeping peacefully. And you're not supposed to smoke on the train. And the father didn't want his child to smell the smoke. So he came over to the guy smoking the cigarette, and he said, "What are you doing?" And was very intimidating and threatening, and tried to take the cigarette from the young man. And then when he couldn't do that, he grabbed his windpipe and, threatened to crush it, essentially. He was holding his windpipe for a few seconds. The father was much bigger and stronger than the short kid, and it was interesting, the dynamic there. The kid just stared right up at him. Finally let down and I think put out the cigarette, but it's interesting, that dynamic. I imagine that that child didn't want to, the child inside that young man didn't want to back down and would almost take a punishment. But the pride made him not want to back down. There's so much I could say about that, and there's probably not enough time. But in that moment, I saw that as much as I hate violence, in that moment I wasn't ready to step up and defend. Even though that person shouldn't have smoked a cigarette, the threat of violence against him was even worse, in my opinion. And I didn't do anything. I was too afraid to do anything. So that's my first day of work. Thanks for watching. Just wanted to give you an update on my life, I suppose.